Well, you're back at Nelson's, and so is my very dear friend
And I'm
Thom
very happy
Racina.
to be at Nelson's.
You are finally
yes.
at Nelson's, and we are going to celebrate because in honor of his soap
Rebirth.
career and rebirth, we're going to have some soap bubbles.
Music to my ears.
I bought this creme de cassis to make the kid.
little.
Okay, and they said put it in
yeah.
after. So we're going to get a champagne lesson as well. So the champagne first. You've done this before then, with the kid?
A few times. Okay. I'll drink anything.
Do you have any experience drinking, Tom?
It's what we do on a daily basis. Susie and I have been laughing about this new show we're doing, that when we're done, whenever we're finished, we're going into rehab. For both alcoholism and for the drugs we're taking to sleep at night.
But you know what? Rehab actually has Wi-Fi now, so that's not an excuse to stop working. You can just keep working
we
from
could be
rehab.
in rehab
Yeah,
and
okay.
do it?
Isn't that pretty?
Oh, that's great.
Here we go.
Yeah.
We are going to toast not only to our long friendship, but to your newest endeavor, the rebirthed One Life to Live.
That's right.
Soap fans everywhere are celebrating.
Yeah, we hope.
I know Erica Slezak is celebrating, that's for sure.
I'll tell you, she's happy. She's happy. She's so brilliant. She's so incredible. I'm in awe of this woman. And I never worked with her before. I never did One Life. And the fact that she can do anything you give her. You know, she's one of those actresses that has it all. You want her to cry? She's got it. You want her to
Which eye?
Exactly, right. She's absolutely incredible. And Dorian and Vicky, you know, they're back to the old feud, and that's kind of exciting.
Before we get carried away, in case not everybody out there knows about One Life to Live, let me tell you that Tom is so much more than just the resident writer of the fictional city of Llanview, Pennsylvania.
Now.
Best-selling author and longtime soap scribe, I would say most identifiable for the famous Luke and Laura Ice Princess love story that sucked in the likes of Elizabeth Taylor and a nation. I think they said something like the Luke and Laura wedding rated higher than every other major TV milestone combined.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
It was the turning point for soaps. Certainly, everybody came out of the closet.
They're still talking about it.
Well, they're doing
decades
it. They're
later.
doing it on the show.
Do you get residuals from that? The fact that they're bringing back the Ice
only
Princess?
when they show a clip of the actual wedding, marrying Luke and Laura. But yeah, I make money off it. Still, it's lunch money. But you know,
well, that's got to be the most rerun clip.
It is
in daytime television.
Yeah, it is.
And in addition to his best-selling books, Brad Pitt was his pool boy. But that's another story that we'll tell when we get to the bottom of the glass. All right.
That is part of it. That is part of it. You know, it's funny. On Valentine's Day, somebody sent me a clip, and they said, "Happy Valentine's Day. You'll like this." A link, and I clicked on it, and there's a scene from General Hospital with Luke and Laura meeting up again on some boat, and they're a little tentative with each other, and their daughter walks out and brings a box, one of those soap opera boxes, where if you ever get a present, you lift it off. I did that once to Deidre Hall. We went to her birthday party, and I gave her a present, and I got a soap opera box from the prop department, and she just had to lift it off. But inside is this like piece of charcoal or something on a stick, and I went, oh my God, they're doing the Ice Princess, and Luke and Laura going, oh my God, we haven't seen that in 30 years. Well, they're doing the same story that I created.
Everything old is new again.
Yeah, like me. I feel like the dinosaur that they dragged
You look the same, just a little bit more distinguished.
Yeah, a little grayer, and yeah. But I tell you, it's fun to be in the trenches again. I mean, it's difficult, but it is fun.
The talking point for this, I think, that's most exciting is a beloved show that had been on for decades and decades finally dies because of current trends and tastes.
That's
but
right.
Fans demand its return, so it comes back on the web. Granted, you know, it's early days, is this the future of
Sure.
storytelling?
It is. It's the future of all television. One day, no one will know that TV that's sitting over here on the other side of the room.
My
What
fabulous
that thing
TV.
is it's like the old 8-track players and cassettes and even CDs and DVDs now. It's all streaming, and people are going to watch everything, and they get a choice. That's what we're up against.
See, and I've lost my BlackBerry. I was going to hold up my BlackBerry and say,
it's obsolete.
but what is the difference? Tell me why I'm going to want to watch a soap or anything else for that matter on my device.
I think it's the instantaneousness of it. You don't have to go home, click on, and sit there and watch it. You can be on the subway, you can be in your car, not driving. You can be anywhere in the world at any time. You don't have to wait till 8 o'clock tonight before that goes on. Or I got to put it on my DVR, but I was going to say, what was it called?
TiVo.
TiVo. But before that, it was like
VCR.
8-track. No, not 8-track.
Beta.
VCRs.
going way back.
VCR. That's it. VCRs.
Okay. Yeah, that's
And
all.
you don't ever have to do that anymore. And everybody I know, even people my age, I mean anybody who is
30?
Yeah, under 30. They get this. That's all they know.
Right.
But people my age are streaming stuff. They're streaming television shows. And that's what we're up against. We're going to be all new. We're going to be brand new. This is a television show made for the web, made for the internet. But if they don't like us, all they got to do is go click, and they can watch any one
Anything
of the
else.
nighttime shows that are on Hulu or iTunes or whatever.
They could watch it Nelson.
Netflix, yes, they can. You could be our
They
competition.
could watch them both.
They can. They can, and they will.
So
I
what
hope.
is the challenge for you as a writer? You're used to writing 60 minutes of content 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year. Now tell me what your soap schedule is now. It's 30-minute episodes 4 times a week?
30-minute 4 times a week. We do a 4-segment week.
Pushing the envelope, which it sounds to me like that's the order of the day. Let's come up with a way to push the envelope. Does that mean nudity? Is it violence? Are they saying profanity? I mean, are we going to hear Dorian Lord say the F word?
Well, you might. You might.
I mean, on camera.
Yeah, I mean on camera. Absolutely. We are trying to make people talk like people talk. We always had that restriction. I'll tell you a story, which is kind of epitomizes it. Years ago on a show, it could have been Another World where you were. It could have been Another World where we got a call from programs and practices, the censors who told us when we said things that were dirty. And this girl says to me, she said, when you make up the name of an artist, it can't sound filthy. And I said, what? What are you talking about? And she said, well, you got a scene here where you say de Kooning. And she says, that sounds suggestive to me. I said, would you like a little lesson in art history, darling? I mean, we're talking about Willem de Kooning, one of the most famous artists in the world. And she had no clue who this was, and she thought we made up that name. So those days are done. That's gone. We have nobody up there looking down on us. We have people who are saying maybe you're saying the word shit too often, or you've got too many fuck yous in this show.
Oh, so you do have adult language.
We do have adult
Any
language.
nudity? Are we seeing hot buttocks? A flash of nip slips?
We're going to see more than we saw on network television, but we're not doing it just to do it. I don't ever want to do it or say those words for shock's sake or whatever, but I don't know how any of that can really shock today. That's really old school thinking. We're trying to make it a little more real that way.
The elephant in the room, of course, is how does this make money? Soap operas were created to literally sell soap. So how does
That's a good
this
question.
make
And
money?
you know what? I have no answer.
Your paycheck depends on it.
That it does. It really does. I mean, whether we're successful depends on how they get revenue, and they're doing everything they can. They're selling advertising time. We will have commercials. I don't know because I have nothing to do with that. I mean, that is not my business. My business is to give them the best show I can give them that people are going to watch, for which those advertisers will pay, and let's hope they find a way.
I know you don't have a lot of time to watch other shows besides your own.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the state of soaps. Who would have thought Dallas would come back and be so successful?
Yeah. Yeah, look at Revenge.
Look at Downton Abbey. I mean,
hello,
would there be
these are soaps.
would there be a Downton Abbey or a Revenge if there hadn't been a Luke and Laura?
You know, maybe not. I mean, although all through history, some of the great stories are, you know, Brideshead Revisited. These are
Hello, the Bible. I mean, look, and that they
these are
just made a mini series out of that.
Yeah, well, look how many times they've done movies or TV shows off the Bible.
I want to know more about Matthew.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll write you a few
right,
scenes.
there you go.
It may not be the Matthew people know.
The Gospel according to Thom.
Oh God, that would be fun. It'd probably be censored all over the place. However.
Just watch who you cast as the devil.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah. Well, we have a new devil coming onto our show. That's how we're describing him. You know, we got the evil man. So we're like, we don't know his name yet. We're just saying, well, the devil will do this and the devil will do that. So, you know.
In the writer's room.
Yeah.
Now, how does it? We're in New York, of course, where I make my home now. But we met. Actually, we met in New York. Boy, we are
did.
old.
We did.
We met in New York in the '80s. We both went to Los Angeles in the '90s. And now you've stayed in the Palm Springs area. How does it feel to be back on the East Coast?
Well, you know, I'm here a lot. Publishing is all here. My editors have been here, publishers, for years, and because I did a couple shows here, and I've always been that old crazy bi-coastal thing. Although in my old age now, living in Palm Springs, California is really quite a wonderful thing, and I can't tell you how I miss it.
Do you?
At this time of year?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, all my friends are there because people come to Palm Springs for the season from January till May. And that's when the parties happen, and that's when the socializing, and they're all out there, and I get calls from them every couple days, and it's like tears are rolling down my face because I'm not there. And this is also the greatest weather back there at this time of year. You know?
Yeah, if that's your thing. But I'm so happy to, after 22 years in Los Angeles, and I say you get less for murder, I've got seasons again.
It's your sentence.
And I'm celebrating the seasons.
Yeah.
Sure, it's cold and miserable.
Yeah.
In winter,
Yeah.
but that makes going to Bermuda all the sweeter.
Well, it's also why we're loving today. Walking on the street in Manhattan is like without a jacket. My God, this is incredible.
How great not to be driving. For me, the luxury of not, because if I could have anything in the world, I would have said in California, it would have been a driver, not to have to be behind the wheel.
And I miss my car. I am going through withdrawal with my car. And my friend Myra from Washington, D.C. is out there at my house right now, and she's driving my car. And I'm thinking, I want to be in it with her. I don't want to hear that you're starting my car and driving out of the driveway. I miss it. I'm an automobile
You bloom
freak.
where you're planted.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm having a good time. I'm not complaining about this. I do miss some of the weather and miss some of the friends, but I've got a whole different source of inspiration here and creativity. That's really the thing. That's really what's making me. The level of happiness I have right now is not from the weather and not from the friends. It's from the creativity. Isn't it amazing?
I remember typing scripts, with whiteout when I made a mistake. That's what you would do.
I saw whiteout in the studio the other day. There was a bottle of whiteout sitting on a desk.
Somebody was sniffing it. That's what it was there for. Nobody needs whiteout anymore.
I know. I didn't even know they made it anymore.
Do you know who invented it?
Somebody who got very rich because
Somebody who got very rich. If you remember the Monkees, Mike Nesmith, the one that wore the cap, his mother invented whiteout.
That's right. So it was a famous kid's mother.
And do you remember Marsha Wallace from the Newhart show
course.
with the red hair?
Yeah, sure.
She gave me a tip. You should always keep a bottle of whiteout in the house.
What for?
To touch up dings in the paint.
If you
and
have
baseboards.
If you have
but
white
everybody's
walls.
baseboards and trim is white.
Yeah,
and
mine
even if
is,
it doesn't
that's
match,
true.
you just wanted a little. There's your tip for the day from Marsha Wallace. I need to hear the Elizabeth Taylor story. Why Elizabeth Taylor was
General
Hospital's biggest fan and how she came to appear on a soap.
It was all kind of a joke as far as I was concerned. We were in a story meeting with Gloria Monty, the producer, who was quite a shrew. And there was a red phone in the corner. And the red phone was like the Pope or the Pentagon. It was only Obama could call on that phone. It was direct line.
Obama wasn't even born then.
No, but I mean the president. It was the president or the Pope. That were the only two people who could call on the red phone. And the red phone never rang. Never, ever rang. It was turned off during the writers' meetings. They wouldn't let the secretary put calls through to it. And it was only from the network in New York City. It was from Jackie Smith, who was head of the network. The red phone rings in the middle of the story conference. And Gloria, we all go like this, like, what the hell is that? Yes? And we hear a little bitty voice screaming, yelling, and Gloria's going, but no, that isn't exactly, no. And Gloria was never at a loss for words with anybody. We're all sitting there going, what the hell is going on? She suddenly says, well, talk to the guy who decided that. And she hands the phone to me. Now let me go back. A couple of weeks before, word got out that we were going to finally marry Luke and Laura, because the Ice Princess story was pretty much over. They had saved the world and stopped poor Charles from being snowed on. And I laugh now. It's my story from a book of mine called The Great Los Angeles Blizzard. And I laugh, and I think about it, and I go, how ridiculous was that? And it changed daytime, you know? But I grab the phone, and I hear a voice yelling, how dare you not give me a wedding? And it sounded like Elizabeth Taylor. I mean, I've been to enough movies to know this woman's voice, and she's screaming, you don't know how many movie sets I shut down when I went into my trailer at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to watch them, and I feel cheated, and she's yelling. And I said, somebody's doing a bad impersonation of Elizabeth Taylor, and she says, this is Elizabeth Taylor. And Gloria went, uh-huh. So I don't know what to say to her. I said, well, you know what? We'll give you a wedding if you come. And she giggled, hung up. That was the end of it. 2 days later, she made a deal with the network, and we had her.
And there
it was
she
her
is on
favorite
the
show. And there she was on the show, and I had to create a part for her. It's like, oh my God, she'll be the widow Cassadine, which they're still playing to this day with her curse on Luke and Laura.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, well, lunch money, like
Yeah.
you said. And then, of course, you got to meet the dame.
Well, yeah, I worked with her. I wrote all her scenes. And can I tell the story about her last taping? She was in her widow's weeds because it was an insert shot that we're doing at the actual Luke and Laura wedding, and she was the widow of Casamigos Cassadine, who they killed, and she pretended that she made up with them and everything was fine, and she's all in black, and she's got the Burton Taylor Burton whatever diamond on her. Brinks brought it that day in a truck. These armed guards carrying this box, and we all said, what the hell is that? And it was that diamond necklace that Burton bought her, and she had it, and it was fabulous.
Yeah.
And she looked fabulous, and she had her hands in a fur mink muff, and she had this thing on her head, and we did the scene where she says very simply, a curse on you, Laura and Luke, a curse on you and your children for the rest of time. In the back, it's her magic, that's what they're going to play for years. Okay, so they stop, and the director says, a little louder, Miss Taylor. Okay, they do it again, and she's a little louder. Oh, could you pump it up a little bit? Okay, we need a little sound. Everybody had an idea. They wanted the storm clouds to be, the thunder to hit, and it was finally getting exasperating, and Liz is standing there, and they're powdering her, and she's like tapping her foot. It was a long day that day. And finally, Gloria got on. She had an idea. The director had another idea. Everybody's arguing. And Elizabeth went out to the center of the stage, and she bangs her foot down like Princess Anne counting. Boom, boom, boom.
I have downstairs neighbors, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. They're not home. They're at work. So, and she says, I have an idea. And on the mic, on the intercom, Gloria says, yes, Miss Taylor. And she said, no, remember, this is what should we do to amp up the curse? And Elizabeth says, why don't I just lift my leg and piss on him? It brought the house down. Coming out of this famous, beautiful movie star's mouth was the craziest thing we had ever heard. And it told everybody to shut up, and they kept the first scene they taped because it was perfect. It was underplayed. They didn't need thunder. They didn't need her going like this, or doing anything, and it put everybody in their place. She's a pro.
Well, that's something to remember for forever in terms of TV acting. That less is more. One more story I must tell. Have a sip, and then tell me the story of how Brad Pitt...
If I have more of this, I'll tell you any story.
Well, then just be honest. I've heard most of the tales, I think, but how Brad Pitt... when I say to people, oh, my friend Brad Pitt was his pool boy. They think I'm lying, first of all. So prove me wrong. Tell me the
And
story.
you were around at the time.
I was around.
This all happened. It's better when I tell this story and you don't know who I'm talking about. But we can't go back and erase Brad Pitt. So all right, I'll tell it, Andy.
A curse on you for all time.
Right. Yes, and all your children, and all my children, which is taping, opposite us, and they're hoping to. Their fingers are crossed. But anyway, back to Brad. I needed an assistant. I lived in Los Feliz in Los Angeles, and I was writing Days of Our Lives at the time, and there was no internet. You had to physically write this stuff up and take it into the studio, and I would not go to the studio often because you got nothing done. I worked at home, sent stuff in. I needed somebody to do that. They had messengers, but I needed somebody living at my house, an assistant. So I put a little thing up at Screen Actors Guild, and I thought it'd give an actor a job, maybe. So this kid comes to the door, and he says, "Hey, my name is Brad, and I just got here from Missouri, and I'm going to be a movie star." And I kind of went, "Oh yeah, right." All of them say that, and I liked him. I just liked him. He was enthusiastic. He was great. So I hired him. He moved in with me, lived with me for 2 years. But I'm writing Days, and I come home one day from the studio, and I knew he was taking acting classes, and he's doing the scene with a girl in my living room, and I crept in quietly, and I listened. He was terrific. The girl sucked, but he was terrific. And I said, I want to give him a role. I got fired the next week, so there was no role to give him. But I got hired by Another World. So I come to New York and I tell our producer, "Look, I've got this kid. I think he's going to be a star." And I said, "I want to give him a long-term story for 2 years." And and he said, "Great, let's try him out. Give him one day on the show. He'll be a kid in high school." And all right, so I write this whole scene for Brad. He is so thrilled. He doesn't have his equity or SAG card or whatever. He's going to get all this for this job. This is his big break.
Yeah.
But he comes to New York. He showed up in Brooklyn at the studio like 4 hours early just to make sure he was there at the door. It was like there 4 o'clock in the morning.
Ernest.
He was so eager.
Ernest.
Oh yeah. And we shot him. And we a few days later, they had one of those meetings with the hierarchy to decide whether they want to give him the part or not. I'd done a whole 2-year story, which they liked, they approved. And they sat around the table, and the one said he can't act, the other one said he's got bad skin, the other one said he's unappealing. And we go around everybody, Procter & Gamble and the network and everybody.
They agreed.
Yeah, and I turned to my producer and I said, "John, come on, give me a break here." And he said, "Tom, I'm on your side, and I know you care about this kid." He said, "But he sucked. He's going to be a plumber." And I had to go home and tell Brad, and he started crying, and I gave him a hug, and I said, "Listen, asshole, don't let these people are wrong. They are wrong." And I said, "Now you've got your act, you've got your guild cards, and you're going to be able to go in." He was on Dallas shortly after that, and had we liked him, he would have been a soap star forever. He would have never done Thelma and Louise. He would have never been, well, he might have, who knows, but probably the chances are he would have been working, would have never replaced whoever he replaced, River Phoenix or somebody in Thelma and Louise. And
well, I guess that's the lesson for any of us. Is
the Lord works in mysterious ways in showbiz.
But you know what? Your pool has never been properly cleaned since.
It's true. I did miss him. He was very good, and he walked the dog great too. He was really wonderful.
I tell people stories about, now that he has 4,000 children and he's saving the world and all of that good stuff. Yeah. And I say, when he worked for my friend, he talked about being a family man and that he wanted to sit on the porch and watch his kids play.
He always said that, and from the day I met him.
He's doing that on this sort of Uber level.
He's got quite a porch.
Yeah. I just love that you're back in New York.
Yeah, me
and
too.
You're having your whole new life.
Me
I'm
too.
having my whole new life.
And I get to drink.
I
get to drink with you.
We get to drink in the neighborhood.